Welcome to Planeface Syndicate, episode 65. A warrior who doesn't hope battle has no hope. Raven. Tonight, we're going to be covering XTC and Oricon Galactic Championship finals, as well as we're going to be talking about some unique lists and kind of looking at some of the overall statistics for some local or some tournaments that I've been kind of capturing and comparing different factions to each other. But before we begin tonight, just a warning, please be careful if you're out there driving. We went out, saw Rogue One tonight, having a great time on the way home, and I end up having to stop and essentially help a handicapped person and a dog get into a car to go to a vet hospital because somebody was not paying attention and hit this gentleman's service dog. So that was a super fun night. So just kind of a overall, please be careful while you're driving out there, that you're paying attention in your bloody phone, because I don't know who it was, but hopefully that person can feel a little remorse for other people. With that being said, tonight I have some awesome guests joining us, and JJ's back somehow. I didn't know he was going to be back tonight, so great for JJ. He's going to be back tonight, joining us from his new apartment or townhouse or wherever the heck he's staying in the ethers of North Carolina. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Nobby's A-Wings. They did not win XTC, but he's excited to talk about them. With that being said, let's bring everybody in. Welcome to the show, Zach and Cory from Bruce Squadron. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
Well.
And welcome back, JJ. Hopefully you fly some A-Wings in Nobby's honor here this week.
Yeah, so part of the challenge of moving to a new place is trying to find a local place that actually plays X-Wing. I knew of a place last year when I came by that was running a regular night, but I haven't been able to see anything posted since then. So I'll have to pay them a visit later on this week to see if they're running a weekly local, and that way I can start getting some practice for a Crate Cup.
Awesome. So we wanted to have Cory and Zach on because we had Cory weeks ago and we talked about list building, and we thought, hey, why not bring Cory and Zach on and let's talk a little bit about some of the lists. So I will be honest, we're probably not going to go over all of the top cut lists. Just as an FYI to everybody, we tried to pick a lot more of the lists that seem fun to fly. And then in XCC, we were looking for some of the lists that were a higher end that did very well. I will tell you, if the list is a meta list, I will 100% over it because I don't care that much about talking about Nate Vader and stupid Jingoists, because we all know Jingoists are getting nerfed. We already had that conversation last week. So there's no way they're going to let those things continue.
Did Vader win a championship anywhere?
No, he still has not.
No.
He still is not. He was on a team, though. He was on a team that won a championship, but he did not himself win anything. And we'll actually get to that. That in the GSP top, that's kind of a surprise not to see a Vader defender. And they had quite a few strikers in there, which I didn't think was a very viable list. But that wasn't me. So somebody did that and took that to the top cut. Anyway, so to begin with tonight, before we get into lists and anything like that, and I apologize, we are a half hour early tonight. I wanted to ensure that we were starting before Game of Thrones started. In case any of you were trying to watch your Game of Thrones, now you're stuck here with us. And you can watch it with me afterwards if you want. But what I thought would be fun to do, since we talked a little bit about building, lists and some of the lists that we thought were interesting. What is your guys' take on what pilot would you like to see their points change them playable, or their loadout value change to make them playable? So I don't care if it's extended, non-extended, whatever floats your all boat. But what I want to do is I want to talk about that a little bit, because I think to me that's like very important. So last week we talked about like all these different pilots we think should get points adjustments. But what is your favorite pilot that you can't fly right now because that pilot is just too bloody expensive?
Well, I'll go ahead and start. One of my favorite pilots that I used to fly in the Republic is Matchstick on the Y-Wing. Currently, right now, he's a 5-point Y-Wing. His ability reads that while you perform a primary or a turret arc attack, you may reroll one attack die for each red token you have. This is really great as you can start off early with just assigning target locks onto that Y-Wing and just basically act as a really good way to either get objectives with that particular Y-Wing and still have those rerolls on offense for it. And it's a really great ship. However, being at 5 points, I mean, you're looking at a ton of other Delta 7 Jedis that are 4 points, or even Obi-Wan Kenobi to, mimic Nick Sperry. He's 5 points in the Ada. So I wish Matchstick was at least 1 or 2 points cheaper, so that way he would be a viable option for the Republic. His loadout value is decent at 18 points right now. But yeah, I think that he needs some love in the Republic.
All right. Cory, you're next.
I think I love Resistance. And besides all the A-Wings going down 1 point, I think I would have to say that Bastion is one of my ships that I've always used for forever. And at 5 points, I think he's just not, there's too many other above him. And he's just got one of those ships that I've used for since as long as I can remember, and miss getting him on the table.
So what do you think he should be put at then? Well, you got to tell me what points value, Cory. You can't just say, I want this one to be different.
I mean, just dropping 1 point, but I could see him even just fully nixing loadout value almost to like maybe 2 points or something like that. Like you can put R4 droid on him or R3. But it'd be nice to see some ships that don't need the loadout values to go down just a little bit. And he's one that I'd love to see at I2. I think he deserves a little bit of love.
Awesome. Zach, how about you?
Well, I've only been flying him for a little bit until the points went up. I want my Maul Gauntlet down again, please. I was having so much fun when that ship first came out with Maul, and now I don't even want to fly him. Why have him when I can spend 1 more point and have Boba?
Now, would you want his loadout points to also go back up, or would you think he's playable at his current loadout value?
I would like to try it. I think he's playable. With Rook having 18, I feel like 20 is fine. So bring him back down to 7 maybe. The issue is that if you bring him down to 7 and Rook's at 7 still, then it just becomes a who are you going to pick, and you're probably just going to pick Maul instead of Rook again. But
that's true. Yeah.
So you could take Maul and move him down, and then what you could do is give Maul more loadout points, or less loadout points, and more loadout points to Rook, and then it's a decision. Do you want to take a crew and some super commandos and make sure you give Rook the title? Hell, how about just give Rook the title and not give Maul the title? That'd be another fix too.
Yep.
And I think also really, a few ships they've really changed out what loadout slots they have. And I think the Gauntlet, with as many as it has, just have some fun with it. Like maybe he doesn't get crew slots because nobody wants to be around Maul. So, do something really push things a little bit further. Any of the chassis that they've really pushed heavy into different loadouts, I think you see more play of different pilots. Whereas if they all have the standard pilot loadouts, then of course you're going to take the one with Force and the one that has higher initiative. So, A-Wings, for instance, I'm looking at some Resistance A-Wings at 4 points. I'm going to try them. And there's the I-5 Sefton, and then there's the I-3, what's her name, with the cannon slot. And I'm going to try both of them out just because they're both 4 points, but it's worth experimenting just because you get a lot of variety in there. And I think that's really good for the game and for the chassis themselves.
So for me, it is essentially the HMP, but I don't think all of them should go down in points. I think our Geonosian prototype should go down in points, remain the same across the board, put that at 4 points. And then I would like to see the DGS 047 go down in points personally. and leave the others kind of where they are. You can have your on-around oppressor back up at 5. I don't care. I'll never fly that thing. Not with 7 loadout points. But give me my DGS 047 and then bump his loadout up to like 16 or 17, so I could take like a crew and and some sort of like tactical droid. Those are the 2 I would like to see, and that's, I don't care what anybody says. I don't think HMPs really are that like meta breaking right now. Like, yeah, they don't want you to be able to fly 5 of them, and that's fine, so just don't keep all of them at 4 points. But give me 2 of them, especially the Geonosian, and give me my DGS 047 back to 4 points, and they that point, because then I can put a shield upgrade if I want.
Yeah.
Or I can not put a shield upgrade,
And it'd be neat if with HMPs, if they would just shift a couple down to 4, keep the rest of them at 5, and then every, cycle of points changes, then shift another one down and move the other ones up, and kind of make it so that you had to keep changing things up and keeping it fresh, but you still had a couple HMPs you could use, but you can't field 4 of them or 5 of them, which is the problem, right? Just kind of swap it out, which ones are the active ones in a sense. Yeah. And like, if you think about it, at 4 points, you're probably not taking 3 of them. You're probably not going to put 12 points into it, because that only leaves, you can run 3 of them in Django. And I don't think that's going to be good. No, yes, it's nice to be able to side slip around things, but you're a 2 dice cannon, and the Geonosian is the only one that gets the 3 dice, and that's only at range 2 to 3, right? And that's only out the front arc, not out the sides. So I don't know. Like, it's, to me, they're not damaging enough that you can put a bunch in a list and think it's going to actually like be that great. Like, it would be good at assault on the satellite if you could place all your satellites correctly, because he's a side slip dude, slip dude. But that's the only scenario. Everyone else you would fail at, and that's if you don't get nuked first. So anyway, so that was kind of just my thoughts. I just thought that would be a fun thing, because I think that's one of the things when we talk about last week that Nick and I missed was, what are you really having fun with that you want to fly? And like, I normally would just say Soontir, because I would really like to be able to put Soontir on the board again. But again, I like, if I say Soontir should be at 5 points, everybody's going to have a meltdown because of all the other toys that Empire has. But when you bring your Jingleist up to 3, maybe Iden up to 4, and get rid of these 4-point frickin' strikers, or not strikers, reapers, then I can have my we can lower that cost on Soontir. I'll say I think Soontir would be fine at 5.
Yeah, he doesn't live, and you can't run dual shield hull anymore like you used to be able to. And Charles isn't on to tell me I'm wrong, so, because Charles hates that pilot more than I hate Torkel Mux.
Seriously, man, when are we getting the official Tanner hate list?
I don't know. Whenever you want to create it, JJ. So that's what I say. And you can make the little things in the Discord. You can make little memes of the pictures. Like, if you want to, like, what you need to do is figure out how to make a GIF. There you go. Maybe that's a Cory job. Make a GIF of angry Tanner face, like when Tanner gets really angry, and then like clip it, and then we can make that as like one of our little emotes. And then every time you could build the list, and you could just add to it every time Tanner goes on his rant about which pilot he hates today, which I don't know if I have any I'm going to really despise today that we're going to talk about. You can just throw the emote in the chat, Maybe we'll do a giveaway. Who knows? All right. So shall we talk
like
XT?
It's a sip of whiskey.
What? Can you get the one where I'm taking the sip of whiskey? Yeah. The whiskey Tanner whiskey face. Damn it, I can see Cory trying to take screenshots already. Anyway. So let's talk a little bit about some lists, shall we? So I feel XTC, I want to go through XTC first. And I only say it because the format is very different. And I really don't mind the format. I think the format's actually pretty cool the way they do it. But we will have to give a shout out to Canada, especially to our good buddy Brendan, who I think 5-0'd like his list. I think he only had one loss. He 8-0'd, 8-1 or 7-2. He only had 1 or 2 losses, and then if you go back to the season, he had very few losses during the season as well. So congrats to Canada for coming out on top with 24 points as well. Yes, Deslin, your list is in there too, baby. I can't mention all of you, then I won't have anything to go over, right? Like there will be nothing to go over.
We'll get you, Desi. Don't worry.
All right. So these are kind of the standings that they had. So Canada came out on top, 2014 points, with England and Germany closely behind, and Italy behind that. And United States came in at 15 points, 15 win points. So what does that mean, JJ? So if we're tallying points up, that means they got 5 wins.
Yeah, that's right.
5 team wins overall. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we had 5, 6, and then 7. So nobody came out unscathed, but I will say that the Canada team came out very far ahead as well. And it was funny because a lot of people were not picking Canada to be the top team. Spain came in the worst, unfortunately, with only 2 wins, 2 team wins there. And then Czechs, Australia, Philippines all came in with 3 wins. And Ireland came in with 4. And Ireland was actually one of the ones that we had thought were going to kind of go top.
They had a lot of shakeout, though, with, I think they had 2, if I'm correct, they had 2 subs, I think. I could be wrong, but I know Rich was, their team captain wasn't there. He was in Disneyland, so.
Oh. Well, that's a fun place to be. All right, so why don't we start? What I did is I picked 8-0 lists, and then I don't know. I picked a few lists I found that were kind of cool too. So I don't know which ones that we have, but if and so JJ, this is so I'm going to give you the first list. You can go through the very first list, but here's the deal. Since a lot of the stuff is duplicate, we don't have to give every bloody thing. What I want to do is talk more about interactions. So I like, for example, this top list has 2 VT49s in it. And there is quite a few interactions in there that like I have not seen before, such as the 5th Brother and Death Trooper. So let's talk through what they are and how they kind of interact.
Yeah, absolutely. So going through this first list here, we have Nicholas Mulders here. His list is the Galactic Vampire. We have 2 Ice Being Jingoists, Wampa, Captain Oiken, and the Decimator, and Morna Key. Now, what's really interesting here with Captain Oiken is that he gets to treat the range 0 attacks as if it was at range 1. So being able to set himself up in a position where he can block if the opponent decides to take a red focus, and if they still remain at range 1 of Captain Oiken after the next turn, they won't be able to get rid of their stress. 5th Brother being a passive force for Captain Oiken, able to spend the force to change a focus into a crit result. Really, really brutal, especially if you're able to also like push in extra damage with Ruthless, which you can use one of the Jingoists to do that, to like damage them and get that extra hit in. It makes it Oiken very consistent on offense, and you're able to get crit spore often in because you're most likely shooting after all the Jingoists, and Morna Key have a chance to hit that one ship that's going to be blocked by Oiken there. Morna Key also with Ruthless, Darth Vader, 000, and BT1 Gunner. This is all the stress. This is a very good stress build. You're forcing your opponent to first Vader. They either have to suffer damage or remove their token. Then you 000 them if they're in range. They either give Morna a calculate or give her the ship has to take a stress, which they don't want with Death Troopers nearby. And then BT1 allows Morna to change her hits into crits for every stress that ship has. So you have the potential to possibly double stress somebody, get free damage onto them with Morna Key, and this can absolutely decimate an enemy squad there. It's really good.
So is the BT1 and the 000 that on there just for the stress dealing to say, hey, I want you to get rid of a token,
Yeah.
and then if not, here's a stress, and oh, by the way, now that you're stressed, I get a crit out of it?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, if you end up taking that stress, BT1 is going to end up getting active in that shot. So yeah, this absolutely gets extra stress there.
Oiken. Cory, what do you think about overtuned on those Jingoists? That's a little bit different of a take than we've seen before, and I know you've never been a super big fan of overtuned.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but I mean, it worked it worked for him. But I'm not a fan of overtune modulators anyway, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask. Zach would probably be a better person to talk to about such a card.
I was just gonna say that I don't understand it. Like why you wouldn't take contraband over that.
So for overtune modulators, this is mainly used for a turn where you're going to take an objective, either scramble transmission, or like get a cargo crate. You pop overtune modulators, get those 3 calculates in there. They are the extra tokens that the Jinglist needs, especially if they're going into the fray. You can send them in, grab an objective, and they still have all those extra calculates to mod on offense and defense.
Yeah, I just feel like I see people pop overtuned at the wrong time all of the time.
Yeah,
like they'll pop it and then they'll have no shots and no one to shooting them, and then you're like, okay, here's 3 strain.
Yeah,
agreed.
All right, Cory, you want to take the next list?
Sure. This one I think is pretty cool. It's Obi-Wan. Basically a bunch of Jedis, and both pretty heavy offense as well as defense with Luminara in there. So I think it's I haven't seen this many Jedi on the table, so it's definitely something new for me to see. And I've been hearing a lot more about Stub. That's one, if I get into Republic again, I want to try out. I believe that's the one that odd numbers, you get an extra attack, and even numbers, you get an extra defense. Is that correct?
Yep.
And I think throwing the shield up there just makes it, a pretty good ship for 3 points. Pretty fantastic, actually. So you've got Ahsoka giving out extra actions. You've got Luminara reducing hits. Mace Windu's got a ton of force, and so does Obi-Wan. So those are your heavy hitters. And I just think it's a very cool list. I think it feels like it'd be very fun. And a lot of times with Jedi, you see maybe 1 or 2, and you lose one, and you feel like you've really got your hurt your list quite a bit. Whereas this one with so many of them, I think target priority would be pretty tough to figure out.
Well, look what's missing. What's missing?
You're talking about like Anakin?
Well, no.
Or you're talking about a lat, right?
there's a lat. There's a 7th Fleet gunner.
Yep. It is interesting to see Mace without heightened perception. I've seen that pop up quite a bit because he's got the extra force. I do think it'd be interesting to check that out instead of R4 P17. Heightened perception is what, 3 points? Isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So you could do R4 and heightened perception on Mace, so that way you still get some really good blue options, but you can also pump them up to level or to initiative 7, which I think would be really cool. So you've got Obi-Wan and him able to hit pretty hard at a high initiative. But overall, like I said, this would be something I would put on the table, and I think I would enjoy.
Yeah, it's really fun to see 4 Jedi on the table, like you said. I think is super cool. One question I think I have about this is Stub. I know it's cool, but would you rather have Click or Contrail?
Personally, I would rather have Click, but that's just me.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I feel like Click would be very interesting in that list.
Yeah, I would agree that Click could be good, but you've got Luminara as kind of helping on the defense side. And I think Stub is kind of interesting because he's actually your heaviest hitter by default without having to line anything up. And so I think it does create kind of an interesting situation where the cheapest ship is actually the one that throws 3 dice, potentially more than the other ones. So that could be the reason there, is just to kind of create a little bit of aggro so that your Jedi have a little bit of freedom. But I think Click would make this list really annoying with Luminara and Click. So I think it'd be cool to see that too.
All right. So the next one is Tommy Adams. I guess we haven't been reading names. So the next one is what I would consider not the I don't know. It is what it is. It's a good list. It doesn't grab my interest very much, personally. So essentially it's a T65. We have Wedge and Luke, both with protons, Luke with afterburners, and Crackshot on Wedge and R3 on Wedge. Colby Sperado with Notorious, R4, and Contraband, and then Fenral with Leia and R4. So basically, as long as Leia's active, they can pretty much do whatever they want. Whether they want to do that to turn around or just go straight, whatever floats their boat. Obviously, it's still a good list. Like, I am not dogging the pilot or the list. I think the pilot is very good, and I think the list is a good list. I kind of find it boring personally. But at the exact same token, XCC wasn't a hey, let's run fun list. It's hey, let's run list to win. But personally, I'm not a Rebels fan very much, and I definitely would not run that list. Though I guess Cory, it's kind of up your alley. It's 3 X-wings, so it's kind of a Cory list. 3 X-wings that move 1 or 2 forward.
They're not T70s.
1 or 2
Yeah,
forward.
I was gonna say they're not T70s. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
this is not my thing. So I know it seems close to T70s, but it's not. So
yeah. All right. How about Zach? I don't know. Can you see the list, Zach? I don't know if I sent you a link or not.
Yeah, I'm in here. Cory, I think, sent it over.
All right, cool. Why don't you take our very own Desi's list here?
You bet. We got the well. I have to apologize. I don't know. This is the usual, like, I feel like the list that we've been seeing everywhere nowadays, but Vader, Malice, Juke in the Defender, cluster missiles. I actually really like. I feel like I haven't seen cluster missiles on Vader, but maybe I haven't been watching enough Vader. Iden, elusive ion cannon, Contraband, 2 Jingoists, Contraband. Wampa elusive, and Valen with marksmanship. I mean, yeah, gross.
It's a gross list. So we won't spend too much time. I will say, Des, you made a great call with elusive on Wampa. I don't care what anyone says. That is literally the upgrade every Wampa should take over everything else. I don't care what anyone says. That's just that to me. That's the only thing you ever take on Wampa. But.
Agreed.
Looks like the finals had HLC on Vader.
Yeah, I like the cluster missiles on Vader personally better. But that's just me.
Is Desi the one that killed 2 drones in 1 turn with Vader with clusters?
Maybe. I don't remember. That was a while ago.
I want to say yeah.
If that was the grossest thing I've ever heard. It was cool for that moment. Oh, okay.
Oh, it wasn't Desi.
It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
That's disgusting. I heard that happen. I was like, that's bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another Canada list, and this one I 100% think is more unique. Now, I will say we've had this list on our stream before, so for anybody who has not seen this list played, you can go back to some of the stream games we did. I don't remember if this was an XTC game, or was it an XTC? So it was Brandon.
It was actually both XTC and NCX as well.
Okay. Because I'm pretty sure we had this list on our stream, and I had been talking a little bit that there is a 6-ship resistance list that I'd never thought to put together. So Cory, we're gonna let you go ahead and take a crack at that one.
I'm just gonna kind of summarize it with a whole bunch of Y-wings and Finn. So I think that's the easiest way to describe this one.
This is the list that I told Cory about. I told he needed to fly.
Yes. I actually have a variant of this, but with some different ships in there because I've got Kaz and it is one of the 4s. But I think it's super cool to see a swarm list. It's weird that Resistance is a valid swarm faction with the Y-wings, which I think is something people just didn't see coming. I think in the next event we're going to talk about too, I saw another one that was kind of similar to this with 6-ship resistance. There were some different ships in there. But I don't know if I saw this in front of me. You just shoot whatever is in front of you because there's no way to target priority anything in this, is there? I mean, Finn is the worst thing to go after. And then the rest of the Y-Wings, they're all pretty much doing the same thing, which is horrible things to you. So the amount of bombs and ion cannons that are happening with this, and then, getting ionized and bombs dropped on you is pretty disgusting. So I think it's cool. I'd be curious if Brendan can actually fly this in person, if he actually has 3 Y-Wing packs. I think that's another thing that's interesting with this list is the cost of actually trying to fly this would be pretty high. And so I'm always curious about if those people are able to fly these actually in real life too. So I've got 4 Y-Wings. I haven't got up to the 6.
Yeah, so it looks like the list that we have here is actually from the group phase. I did just add the finals list, which is very similar. He ended up running Heralds of Hope Poe or Commander Poe, and replaced 2 of the Y-Wings with that. It ended up adding BB-8 and Finn for this particular list. So it is kind of a similar concept, but with Commander Poe coming in to be more of a hammer with the proton torpedoes and Ferrosphere paint. Yeah, pretty interesting.
So I'm going to say just an observation. That first list was undefeated though, just as an FYI.
Yeah.
So is the change, and maybe Deslin can answer, is the change was just to tech against the meta? Was to tech against what you knew you had to fly against? Because if you are 5-0 with that list, to me that seems like a pretty bloody good list, just personally.
Yeah, I agree.
So Cory, we want to see you put that on the table. We want to see a 6-ship list on the table.
I did figure out I think you can run 7 ships, by the way, just so you know, with resistance.
Oh my god. Okay.
I think it's 3 pods plus all the Y-Wings. But I think you can hit 7 ships with resistance, which I don't know. There's not many factions that can do that.
All right. Are you gonna try that? Is that, I want to see you play a 7-ship resistance list on Monday.
Do you even own 3 pods? Like,
I have 2. I don't have 3. So,
all right.
Although I think you could put in, Jaeger as one of the 3-pointers in the fireball. So you get an I-5. So.
All right, Cory, your goal is to try this. Like, I want to see you try that. We got to see if it's any good. I'll run it against Boba and Eamon on Monday, and we'll see if it's any good. And if you can defeat Boba Eamon like hands down with it, then you got a list that we're running.
I don't know if I like that matchup there with Boba and bombs. That sounds pretty disgusting. So
I've beaten it with Boba and Eamon, but yeah.
Damn it, JJ, shut up. All right. Let's move on to the next one.
All right. So the next one here, we have a CIS list here flown by Mataos. He has General Grievous with Treacherous, Afterburners, and Impervium Plating. We have Cad Bane here in the World Class Starfighter. Also with it looks like 5 vultures here, 1 DFS 081, 2 hard shells with energy shells equipped onto them, and then of course the regular separatist drone vultures to round off the list with Discord missiles here. Definitely really interesting list here. I do like the sort of missiles on these vultures. They just if your opponent decides to ignore them, even if they only just have 1 agility, they can cause some crits at the right time there. And Grievous flying behind the line of the vultures will be able to use Treacherous to start passing off either hits or crits onto those ships to avoid taking even more damage there. And then just having the Afterburners to get that extra boost whenever you need to, and then barrel roll focus if you need to make Grievous a lot more AC at Initiative 4. And Cad Bane there with the Force with Savage Press, really good as well.
All right. And then the last XTC top list that I wanted to go over was another Republic list. Who wants it?
I can go. It's so we got Obi-Wan, Elusive, does 7, Obi-Wan I should say, shield upgrade, calibrated laser, CLT, click, as I was just mentioning, dedicated R3, get the double locked proton bombs, mace, here's your heightened perception, Cory, and then stub with shield upgrade, and then hound, barrage rockets, commandos, and the old 7 fleet gunner.
And I think this is hilarious because Hound has Night Owl commandos. Like that's just like usually we're used to seeing C-3PO, but he chose to go with Night Owl commandos, which I guess makes sense, right? Because if you're throwing CLT Jedi, you do the Night Commandos, and then all of a sudden you're shooting 2 to 3 dice with against 1 to 2 agility every time. Seems pretty good to me. And it's a smaller base, so you don't have as far. Like if we measure out, like when you have to drop them out the back, it's not as bad as dropping them out at the back of a big base.
Yeah.
I think the commandos are heavily underrated.
Yeah.
Like just crazy underrated.
You know what sucks? Commandos on a real life table.
Yeah. That's why.
Yeah.
Chris and I can attest to when our commandos overlapped, and they were both underneath one ship.
My Pre-Vizsla was sitting on top of both of mine and his commandos. And the first time the commandos was underneath my ship, and I almost forgot about them. Like I almost forgot to shoot with them. And because it's a May, you don't have to.
We were also wondering if commandos gain a strain if another opponent's commandos go underneath the commandos. But yeah, no, I think this is cool. The commandos, I've been just looking at them as basically just extra ships. So like you just take this 5-ship list into basically 7. I know they're not extra ships, but like having more things on the board that are causing pain, it's another ship,
And we're only used to seeing that with Discord missiles, so it's weird to have it in more factions. Like I'm used to having the faction that has the only thing that can annoy people. All right. So I threw a couple of lists in here. We didn't want to spend all the time on XCC. Like the way XCC is structured, I'll be honest. Like I think it's great. I think everything about it is great except for like how the lists are run, where they're stored, all of the data. Like they're in a couple of different docs. It was very hard to pull a bunch of stuff together, and that XCC document was very hard to search anything for. So, with that being said, I picked a couple of lists I had when I was scanning through that I thought were pretty unique. Here you go, it's another Canadian list, but here's a Jango Boba Grievous list for Separatists, which I have been looking at running, minus the fact that I don't like Chancellor Palpatine per se. I prefer Dooku all day, every day. But essentially, they're running Jango with Palp and Protons, False Transponder Code, Delayed Fuses, VTC, and Slave 1. So it seems to be a more aggressive Jango. And then we have Boba with Electro Chafe, Perceptive Copilot, which, again, I'm not super sold on the Perceptive Copilot on Boba, but I understand. Night, honey. And False Transponder Codes. And then Grievous with Predator, Afterburners, Solus 1, and Pervium Plating. If we talk about the scum list that I was flying with Eamon Boba, this to me feels like kind of a more aggressive, less defensive version of that. And I like the choice of not going with outmaneuver on Grievous since you only have 3 ships. There's really not a reason to take outmaneuver because the probability that they're going to go after each of these ships is probably pretty high, in my opinion. I could be wrong, I guess.
I really like this list, and I basically think you just fly. Well, I mean, I don't know if it was streamed, so I have to go back and watch it, I guess. But I would just fly Boba alone and then throw basically Grievous and Jango together at the beginning at least and separate them and let them come around. But Boba on it by himself is just like so cool.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's why they have the electro chafe missiles and the perceptive to try to keep Boba alive longer. Because you don't get the rerolls like you do with the scum Boba. So I guess it makes sense if you're getting multiple shots, right? A, you can neuter people. B, you can neuter them a second time with FTC. And then you also have 2 focuses. So I guess I can see the merit behind it. I've always ran Boba with the VT tail gunner and put VT tail gunner on him and then put some sort of bombs on him and then kind of filled in from there. That way I can go in, shoot, turn around, dump a proxy on people and call it a day.
Absolutely.
But I do really like this list.
It's nice to see Grievous with a different build. One I was looking at was Predator and actually Shield upgrade, which I know sounds crazy, but like making him even more tanky. Could you imagine how frustrating that would be? Is Grievous with Soulless 1 Impervium plating and Shield? Like he's pretty much as strong as the fire sprays at that point. So
that's 8 health, right? 3 shields, 5 hull. Oh my gosh, that's gross.
Plus his abilities, it's like what I mean. You're never going to touch that ship.
And once you get to the hall, you're like, I'm still not taking crits. So.
So I will tell you, the move against Grievous is if somebody is shooting at Grievous and they hit crits, and you have the ability to reroll your fucking crit. Do not try to burn the charges unless you're that far ahead. Take the chance and re-roll it for a hit. You have like a 3 and 8 chance, right? 2 and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only time you keep it is if you're flying boss, because then you just split it at the end.
Yes.
But
yep, you're right. Yes. That's who we're missing seeing is Bosk. I feel bad. I don't see any Boss on the table.
I don't ever feel sad when I don't see that. No, he's a good.
I mean,
ship,
Boss has so many great options, but you're right. We don't see him on the table.
Do not malice Grievous. Exactly. Yes. Yes. Unless you're the Grievous flyer, then it's like, go ahead, baby. Malice the fuck out of me. Waste your force. Waste it. And then the last list.
Force with malice?
You do if it's not a ship crit. If it's a pilot crit.
It has to be a pilot crit. Yeah.
And the probability that Grievous pulls a pilot crit is usually pretty low for whatever reason. And maybe it's just because I know there's more ship crits in there than pilot crits, but I will tell you that every time somebody gets a crit on me with Grievous, I almost always pull a ship crit and just get rid of it. It's kind of a feels bad, actually. Like, I'm kind of surprised they didn't ban Impervium plating. Like, I'm a little surprised by that. AMG, do not do that. It's not me advertising you to do that, please. All right, I gotta go back.
If they do, will you make them 4 points?
Yeah, if they ban it and you make him 4 points, I'm okay with that.
If you get Grievous at 4 points, I get Fen at 5.
Grievous at 4 points. Oh my god! All right, let's keep moving on. We're gonna spend all night discussing that piece of it. All right. Who wants to take the last list? In this FO list, I pulled because I felt this was a very unique FO list compared to the crispy trash that we've been seeing that we know is going to get nerfed. So Merle at 2. You can't have Merle at 2. You can have Merle at 3, though.
Merle needs to be 3. All right, I'll grab it. It's Malorus, Agent T-Rex, as I call him, Pattern Analyzer, TAC Officer. You've got the 2 SFs. I love SFs. I've always loved them. In fact, it's sitting up over there. I think it's a cool ship. Love to see more of them. And with Special Forces Gunner going down to 5, I think there's definitely strength there. And Phasma, I think Phasma is way underused. You can use Phasma to pull that shield off of the FOs to get Fanatical going all the time. And that keeps that SF alive a little bit longer, where Backdraft tends to get burned down pretty quick. We've got Scratch, and interesting with Elusive there instead of Predator, but either way, I think is fantastic. I like Scratch better than Malorus.
Scratch? Is this like a new ship I've never heard of?
Scratch. Everybody always writes it Scratch. But
Squelch.
I like Scorch better than Malorus personally, just because the sustained everything you can do with him keeps going. It's not just 2 turns, and then being able to throw in a silencer on top of that. This is a very cool list. I'm not a huge Shuttle person, but I could see it doing really well in this list, and it's very cool. So.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun list. I think that like I would be encouraging, one of our local group members to be playing a similar list. And I think he did have for a little while a somewhat similar list, and I think I kind of poo-pooed it because it didn't have Malorus in it. So, but
so for Rush, what are you guys' thoughts on optics versus events targeting priority on Rush? Do you think that more points would be better invested elsewhere, like maybe in talent slots?
Yes, I don't like advanced optics on him, but that's just me because I feel that a silencer without force is a dead silencer. And if you're gonna take 5 points and use it on offense, it feels bad personally, unless you are able to shoot at a higher initiative, right?
Yeah.
I don't like APT or ATP. I don't like that at all personally.
I think my favorite FO combo is Proud with Pattern Analyzer.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. You've got turnaround maneuvers so you can get your focus target locks. And then something that I think is really interesting and I don't see people use very often. A lot of times silencers are said to be very predictable because if they get stressed, there's only certain things they can do. But with Proud Tradition, another use of that is you can still take a focus action no matter what you did. So you can do a maneuver that's unexpected, like a 1 hard, still get a focus token, and you will completely take your opponent off guard because they're just not expecting you to do that and have a mod. So me personally, I would put Proud and Pattern on there in a heartbeat.
Yep,
Nice.
I agree with that. All right. Anybody else have any other XCC lists they wanted to cover, or can we move on to Omicron?
I just want to do a shout out for Navi, and I think it is pretty sad for the current state of. I love the list variety we're seeing, but Navi mentioned that there was only 3 total A-wings in all of XTC. That to me is proof that there's an issue there with costing of A-wings right now. Because that, as much as he loves them, I totally get it. It is a problem if you got that many lists. Was it 80 something lists? And there's only 3 A-wings. That's a core piece of X-wing, and kind of what I think of when I think of Star Wars is an A-wing. So something has to be done there for that to get back into things.
Well, if you listen to last week's episode, we made predictions on what we feel will change. Pretty sure A-wings will change. I could be wrong, I guess, but it feels to me that we will see some sort of a change with that.
Yeah, and like Ahsoka.
Wedge. No, you can't have Wedge at 3. No, that's no. Nope, not gonna happen. Shara, I don't even think Shara should be 3 points. I'm sorry, like that. There's other A-wing.
No, she's fine. It takes so much to get that ability going. It's Deslin's right on.
No Wedge at 3 points, though. You cannot. Actually, I would be happy if they just got rid of all wedges from the game. No more wedges.
Need good old Merle. Merle needs to be 3 points.
Why do people like Wedge anyway? Like, I don't even think in the movies he's like a good character. Like, I really don't like him in the movies.
He's Obi-Wan's uncle, okay?
I don't give a shit.
Leave him alone.
Wedge has one of the best abilities in the game. That's the reason people love him.
No, I know, but like in the movies, why do people like him?
Nobody cares about them in the movies.
If Wedge,
so get rid of him. Ban him. Ban Wedge.
I mean, if Wedge didn't exist, Luke Skywalker would have never destroyed the Death Star. And Wedge also takes out the second Death Star.
Wait.
We can add Wedge to the Jif peanut butter jar, the Jiffy.
Yeah.
Where did Wedge touch me? JJ, say that again.
I said that without Wedge, Luke doesn't kill the first Death Star, and Wedge also kills the second Death Star. He is the reason why the Empire lost.
No, the reason the Empire lost is because of Jyn Erso and Jyn Erso's father. That's the only reason that the Empire lost. And maybe it's because I just watched Rogue One, but
Yeah,
that's exactly why. That's exactly why the Empire that they all lost. Wedge was just a carrier. That's it. All right. Anyway, let's move on. I don't actually hate Wedge that much. I will tell you, if you make Wedge A-Wing 3 points, we have a problem, though. Like, I will tell you, in my opinion, that's a pretty big problem. All right. So before we get into lists, let's take a quick break and let's go over Tanner Statistic Hour, because that's what Tanner likes to do, and this is what I do for a living, except for not with X-Wing. But if somebody would like to employ me to do this with X-Wing, I will happily run statistical analysis on all X-Wing material. And hopefully, if Dion's listening, Dion will 100% try to merge all of this bloody data together so that way we can actually use it without me having to create separate spreadsheets and databases to hold all this effing data in. Just my wish. All right. So what I did is I broke the statistics up. I figure what we have to do is we have to look at what the difference between cuts are, right? What's doing good, what's not doing good, and then kind of what won, right? So the first thing that stands out is Scum. And what I do is I rank basically how many lists you have, right? What are your total percent of lists versus what is your percent of top cut? So for example, we had 93. And again, these are rounded averages. So just, you have to bear with me with that. So we had Rebel come in at the lowest percent of lists, which is kind of amazing to me, other than, again, Rebel is boring to fly, in my opinion. Except for a couple of lists we see are not boring. And the Resistance came in at 8% of total lists. But on the opposite side, Resistance off the charts made prominence here. And JJ, what have I been saying? I guess I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit. What have I been telling people about Resistance and winning shit?
Their points need to come down.
It's been good.
I have not said that.
No,
but I have not said that personally.
Resistance is the sleeper, man. I mean, it's getting more and more popular nowadays, but Resistance is a sleeper that just hasn't been, I don't think, properly looked at. They have a lot of great ships that they've been making cut consistently now. A lot more of their lists are making cut. So yeah, they're doing well.
Resistance has been the top 1 to 2 cut factions, and yes, I get that if we actually took a weighted statistic, it would change a little bit. Like, they would not be as high up. So unless somebody wants to pay me, I'm not going to spend another 10 hours doing weighted statistics for X-Wing crap. That would be fun to do, but I also like to play the game, and I like to do other things with my life, so I don't really want to create a weighted statistical average. Anyway, so, but Resistance is coming in. Resistance came in second lowest, came in at top of the cut, and they ended up having 5 out of 7 lists. 5 out of 7 lists they cut today. Like, it's crazy. That's just astronomical, right? And they were 26% of all cut. The only other faction that had that was Empire, and we know why, because Empire has Jingoist and some form of Vader. Period. No questions asked. Which would probably lend to Cory's argument that maybe Vader Defender could probably change a little bit, but I don't agree with him. But the statistics do kind of show. We'd have to run the statistics to say how many Vader Defenders were flown and how many made cut and all of that jazz. But I will say Vader, I don't know. Maybe that would be interesting. We should see how many Vaders versus Wedges and Lukes, or Vaders versus Kylos we have. That'd be an interesting statistic to look at.
Sounds
I don't
like
have time to do that
for you
today.
to do this weekend.
What?
Sounds like a fun thing for you to do in the weekend.
It does, except for I'm going to go see Rammstein this weekend in Chicago, so that's going to be a little bit more fun. I'll just tell you that right now. Which I don't know if you know who Rammstein is, but
I do.
Okay. So the other pieces. So as we look at, Resistance stands out. Empire is a little bit high. Everybody else is kind of, and the Republic is down. But if we look at top cut faction percent versus list percent, Rebel, obviously, Rebel and Resistance are on the high end. Separatist also has quite a bit of a jump up there. And then when we look at total overall, combined percentages between all of the different factions, Resistance is number 1, Rebel is number 2. And again, that's 100% because of the smaller list turnout for their faction. And then we have Separatists kind of squeaking in there at 3, which is pretty amazing to me. Then after that, we have First Order, and then it goes Empire is -1, and Scum is -8. So Scum comes in the lowest out of overall rankings, but guess what? Scum won today. So I don't know. So even though statistics tell us Scum would not be the faction to win, I guess if you're a really good player and you can fly really, really well, fly Scum. That's what this is telling us. So,
yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, Scum has. I mean, when you're making list archetypes across the factions, there's certain archetypes that can really carry over across different factions. Like you can make really solid 5 or 6 ship lists across the different factions and stuff. Scum seems to be the exception for that. You tend to have a lot more bigger bases that can make like 4 to 5 ship lists, and that's what's doing really, really well for Scum. And it's just it takes I think there's just a lot there that we still haven't seen that has been brought out to the light now with this latest tournament. And I think that we'll be seeing a lot more of those types of lists for Scum. That's going to be mainly Scum only because they're the ones that have the availability to have multiple big bases like that.
Yeah. I think the other thing that kind of waters the statistic a little bit too with the Scum, right? Because Scum had the second highest churn-out of list counts, right? And I think a lot of that is you have a lot of people playing Scum that may not, that may just enjoy that faction. I will say, in my opinion, Scum is probably the funnest faction to fly. Don't tell Charles I ever said that, please. Nobody clip that. But I will say, like, out of everything, Scum is a pretty fun faction to fly if you like all these weird triggers and this and that. I really think that that's like the big thing here, right? And like if we look at our local, how many of us in local fly Scum at least once a month? There's at least 4 of us.
I mean, every week.
Well, every week is you. Me and Brendan dabble in it. Brendan more than me. Me only for Gen Con. How about that? Maybe the GT tournament. I might have to start practicing my Scum for that because I can fly extended now. I have 3 IG-88s. It's gonna be really hard not to want to fly 3 IG-88s. Anyway, I probably should tell you guys what I'm
2
flying.
with Q9. I'll tell you right now. 2 of them with Q9.
JJ, shh.
All right. No, hey, Zach, don't worry. JJ and I will be list building together. It's okay. And Crispy, I got Crispy in the chat. Hey, Crispy's gonna get me an extended Scum list that'll win the whole thing.
JJ, I'll send you mine.
Anyway. So then if we kind of move on and we look at like overall, so what I've been doing is I've been taking any tournament for the most part, that except for ours, I added our tournament in there because I'm selfish and I like that. But pretty much any tournament over 40 players, we've been adding in here. So all the GSP, all of the, everything but XCC for the most part, that has been a larger tournament that's had over 40 people. I have added in here and I said, hey, let's look at the statistics for what all of these are, right? And so we've had 834 lists flown, 142 have made top cut. That is 17% at top cut. That's higher than I thought it would be. So what was our average at Gen Con? It was 8 out of 45, was it?
I believe so.
It's okay. So it's still under Gen Con. Damn it. All right. That doesn't prove my point. Anyway, so when we kind of look back at it, we see, well, if we combine everything together and kind of look at it, if we look at the overall numbers, we do see Resistance still coming out ahead, but not by as much. And that's because of the different varieties of areas that we have that we're taking, playing, right? All the different areas that are playing, but Resistance still comes out higher. Resistance still comes out as the lowest flowing total faction list of everything, and it loses its highest top cut percentage if we add everything together. with Empire making the top cut probably because of Jingoist Invaders. But if we look at our overall combined ranking, and I'll try to be brief because I don't want to be boring, because I think I'm losing people. People don't like statistics as much as I do. But I will say Resistance comes in pretty high, and then we have Republic and Separatists right behind with FO, and then Rebel and Empire neutral, with Scum still being the least played and least winning fat probability faction overall. So, anybody have any thoughts on statistics before we move on from Tanner's mathematics?
Yeah,
101
I just
class?
like that overall so far. The spread is starting to shrink a little bit more and more, making it a little bit closer. There still has to be adjustments that have to be done to some of the pilots to help it probably get a lot more closer in percentage wise for all these lists. But I like the direction that the game is heading so far with what we had with the last points update and all these tournaments that really bringing out the creativity on a lot of different people there. I still think that there definitely has to be adjustments for some of the loadout values as well, just so we have more options across the board for different factions, so we can see more variety in the list. But I do like so far where we're heading. So yeah.
And I will say, if you think about it, we're between -2% and 5%. That's a pretty small spread compared to what we were seeing in individualized tournaments. Overall, our spread is pretty good. So as much as we all like to complain about different things and different pilots and different loadout values, we do have to admit that there is quite a bit of neutrality per se when we look at everything as a combined total. Now, I will say I do not have XCC in here. So I did not put XCC in here. That would be a nightmare to try to track in here, so I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe if somebody wants to help me figure out how to add that to my database, I'll be happy to do that. But for now, XCC is the only thing that I don't have in here that's been a large tournament. But I feel the spread is very minimal. And I feel that the win ratios are more meta style based versus with the players than anything else. So, and I will say GSP helps that, right? GSP helps that because they give out more invites to people that you don't have to be top cut to get an invite to their exclusive tournament, right? You just have to place 3 and 2 now, and it encourages people to fly more creative lists, which is what I would like to see more of actually happen personally.
Yeah, and I feel like if you looked at all of these 834 lists, like, you know, some might be the same ships, but I think most of those lists, you know, like I'd love to see like a spread of how different those, because everyone's just kind of building the, you know, with the new loadout points and the new squad points, like they're able to just kind of put what they want together and fly that, versus basically, you know, it can still be good versus like just taking what's good.
Yeah. Nope. And I agree with you, Zach. And I think creativity got somewhat spoiled with loadout points, but I think on the opposite side, it's also allowed us to explore options that we've never had before. Some of them good, some of them bad. Wedge is definitely bad. The rest of you know, have been pretty good. And oh, guess what, AMG? You wanted them to take R2D2 on Luke. How many people take R2D2 on Luke? You got the points for it. Why is my Luke not got R2D2 on? Oh, because it's not good for 8 points. Sorry, not sorry. All right. So why don't we actually talk about some lists? And like I said, we're not going to go through all top 32 or top 16 or whatever it is. I don't care, because there was a lot of repeat lists. The lists we have in here, minus 2 of them, are all unique. All unique, right? So who wants crispy scum lists? Zach, you want it?
Absolutely, I do. Crispy, I think he's watching, or did he leave? He might have left. But it was super fun to watch him fly today, and fly this list. And he has not completely convinced me on the Mandalorian yet, but you know, I just got to get there. Oh, there he is. He's here. Duke, Predator, Child, Fenrau, Jamie Beam, Greedo, Title on the Mandalorian. And then we got Cad Bane with Iron Cannon, Jamie Bean, Contraband, False Transponder Codes, the Title, Zuckuss, and Ion Bombs. Manaru, Notorious, the classic Manru build, Jamming Beam, Garth Saxon, Overtune, Punishing One, R5P8, Gauntlet Key, Gleb, Deadman Switch. I like Deadman Switch on Gauntlet Key. I wish I did it more often. I just I put elusive because I'm too much of a baby and I don't want my Gauntlet Key to die. But Fenrau Crew, I think, is one of the highlights here, especially in the final game. I kept seeing it get like before we got to the actual like trigger for Fenrau. I'm like, oh my gosh, Crispy's about to trigger so many Fenrau Crew like stress removal right now in this round. I'm like, that is sick.
Well, how about Zuckus there?
Zuckus is super. Oh my gosh, the turn where he removed the stress with Fen and then took the Zuckus stress and then gave the Zuckus stress away. Oh, it was just killer. I was in love with it all. So, yeah, I have yet to pull Zuckus off. So on CAD, but I was impressed.
All right.
Yeah, Crispy in the chat saying Vizier got Zuckus off the board. That was an awesome moment to see that. Yeah, absolutely. And what I really like about this list too is just the combo of passing off that stress or that red token off to another person and then using Gamut Key with Manaru to basically take it away and add an additional die on the attack. Just so much power in this list. And then a Gamut Key being able to hold the evade token on the Mandalorian to proc juke, and then you can take a second evade if you want to, or a focus, and you have basically all the mods you need defensively for the Mandalorian's ability, and yeah, it's overall just
dirty.
Really great.
Now, can you imagine if Kanan was, or if Manaru was still 4 points, you could fit Kanan in there with Gamut as a crew instead of Maul. Oh my god, that would be so dirty. So AMG, please don't bring Manaru back down to 4 points.
I thought you were going to talk about the Mandalorian going down to 6.
Well, that's what we talked about too last week. And if you bring the Mandalorian down to 6, fuck you, Gamut. I could literally just bring Kanan now with Gamut on there. Like, no longer, you know what? No longer do I need Maul. At that point, I don't care about Maul. I'm literally only going to go for Gamut. I mean, that's just, oh my god,
well,
that would be
you're no longer
so dirty.
Coordinating though.
Huh?
You're no longer coordinating, but
that is true. You do lose the coordinate. Yeah, that is true. So the question would be is how much does the coordinate matter over that one? I mean, at that point, your Cad Bane could go up, or your Manaru could go up to Q9, and now you got a Q9. Stop! Don't, now you're making an argument why we cannot bring the Mandalorian down to 6 points because life will be hell. Damn it, Crispy! Will you please stop making lists and bringing them to tournaments so that people now we're gonna have to fly against this. You know that, right? Like this is gonna be like the new thing to fly against until they adjust points.
I was going to say, I think Fenrau Crew is really cool because I think in the beginning, no one touched that. And there's a few people dabble that I knew I flew Rebel Fen and started to see how powerful it was to pull off that stress and then be able I had Leia Crew so you could K-turn afterwards. But I think we're going to start seeing a lot more Fen Crew just because he's at a great price point. It helps the whole team out. And with all the bumping and all the other stuff like that, I think it's pretty awesome to see a card come to light that just wasn't there before.
Yeah, and didn't we talk about in locals? We talk about Fen Crew. How do we make Fen Crew work? Like that's been a conversation that we've talked about before, and it's just never been something that like we'd seen.
I think it's a cool option instead of L337, right? You know, it used to be you would slap that on all the time on the Mandalorian on the Razor Crest, right? And now you're starting to see other options of how to get rid of that stress and make that ship maneuverable. And Fenrau is one of those options. So
yep. And I mean, and then if you do run Q9 with it, you could put L337 on Q9 now, and now you have a million options. Tracking fob is not bad actually. All right, so let's move on from the scum list. We can spend hours on it. So the runner-up was William Hayes, Sevwall, right? And they were running a very interesting Empire list that we have not seen before. Who wants in the Empire list?
I'll do this one here. So he was running the Galactic Empire here with Vizier, with Emperor Palpatine, Pure Sabak, and the TIE Striker with Targeting Computer and Proximity Mines, Vagabond with Proximity Mines and Proton Bombs, Countdown with Ion Bombs, Marksmanship, Elusive, and Targeting Computer, and then Commandant Goran with Shield Upgrade and Sensitive Controls. And I gotta say, for a list that does not include Jingoist, Wampa, or Vader in any form, this is really, really impressive, and I like this list a lot. The strikers can do a lot of work, especially with their ailerons. They can cover a lot of the board. And what the one surprise that I like for this one is Vagabond. Vagabond is a ship that we haven't seen played in a long time. It's actually one of my favorite strikers just because of the ability to do the ailerons boost and then drop a mine. You can actually do it twice. You can actually use the proximity mines to either drop before the ailerons and then do the ailerons and then drop it again with his ability, which is fantastic. You can do it twice in the same turn.
It seems broken, but they die right away. So
yeah, exactly. They got to get there in the first place. They got to live.
They hit hard before they die. I will tell you that.
All right.
Yeah.
So real quick though, Commander Goran only affects people in lower initiative. So Vizier, obviously, right? What is Pure Sabak, Vagabond, and Countdown? What are they at? What initiative?
4.
Countdown's initiative 4, and Vagabond is initiative 2.
So Goran is here for Vagabond and Vizier. Then that's it, right?
And Sabak is 4 as well.
I thought it had to be below 4.
No, it's the same initiative or below, I believe. I gotta take a look at the list.
All right. Well, then it works for almost all of it. So I just, for some reason, I thought it was below that. And I was going to say, well, you could just take Nash. Yeah. See, Goran only works on below. That's what I thought. So it's only below. So Goran is here either for the survivability or for, to pass it off to just those 2 ships. And then I wonder if Nash would help with that. Right. I don't know. I didn't play it, so God only knows. So Kevin O'Connor's list is almost identical to Deslin's list. We're not going to cover it. I'm done with that. It is what it is. That's what it is. The only difference is it has Defender Vader with HLC on it. So moving past that, we have Juan Shaz or Obi-Wan. I love that dude's nickname. That guy. That's my favorite one. Who wants to take the Seppi list?
You should, shouldn't you? Aren't you a separatist one?
All right, I will. Okay, so we have 2 backplate Hyena bombers with Indy Calculates, Discords, and FTC. 2 holocrons with energy shells and grappling struts. Mind you, no independent calculates. And then DFS 081 with energy shells, munitions, failsafe, and grappling struts. And then we have Jango Fett with Notorious, Dooku, Seismics, which I thought was a little odd, but I watched him use them to clear out ways for some of the droids to go. And False Transponder Codes and Contraband, Slave 1, and Boba Fett, which I think Boba Fett, if you can't fit VTC or you're not using Jango Fett as a aggressive, I'm going to get in between a bunch of ships, Boba Fett is a lot better than VTC is for the points. So I think this is a very interesting list, especially with having some that can share calculates and some that cannot. I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised with the independent calculates on those Bactoids, other than I guess they're firing the Discords and energy shells in one churn. You can get both of them off, and that's literally all that's there for. I love the list personally. Myself, I it's very weird with all the I1s and one I3, but it makes sense, right? Like the Helicon droids having energy shells and grappling structs allows you to put them together with a Bactoid, so you can kind of run them in pairs, and then you can run DFS off to the side or in between all of them and kind of let him share calculates. I still would actually try this without independence on anybody personally. I like this list. I am very tempted to run this list just to play with it. But I could see why you do not have them on there, because those Helicon droids, if you get that bullseye, you immediately have that free target lock, and then you're double modded with your energy shells, which I never thought about, because that's very interesting, right? Being able to be double modded with an energy shell is really the only way I want to take an energy shell ever, because I hate them, because they literally do nothing but 1 damage for me. Like, I've never had good luck with those things. I hate them, but it does make sense in this list with those.
I think I saw him reload them multiple times, multiple games. Like, it was pretty sweet. You got them off many times.
Yeah, which makes sense, especially if you're doing the objective taking, right? You could just do your reload function, take your objective. If somebody shoots at you, it's 2 points. Nobody cares, you know. Like, you took 2 points.
And that's what makes this list good, right? It's like, okay, I either pour everything into Django, and then I get Notorious triggered, basically, and I start taking strain, and then the droids just pound, everything else into me with the energy shells. Or I just go up to the droids, and Django just gets to fly around and do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah. And this is still a 6-ship list, but the bombers provide that extra health, which I almost feel is a little bit better than running more droids with them, because you could drop them all down to vultures and get another vulture in there. But I feel this is better, personally. So
yeah, they have a little more staying power with those hyenas. They take a little bit more effort to try to take down, and they can definitely do some work in objective based like scenarios. So yeah.
All right, folks. So who wants to take? So these are some of the ones I found, and I don't have to read all the ones I found. But these are some of the lists I found interesting out of all of them. So Daniel, Leon, I don't know, from Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
I felt this was a pretty interesting list. Who wants to own it?
Yeah, I'll take this one here. So he's flying the Rebel Alliance here with Alexander Callis here in the VCX. What a surprise to see him. Dorsa Turret, Saw Gerrera, Hondo Inaka, and the Ghost title for flavor. Iron Kraken with Elusive, FCS, and Ion Torpedoes. Luke Skywalker with Shattering Shot, Trick Shot with Proton Torpedoes and R3. And then Fenrau with Swarm Tactics, Tristan Wren, and R4 Astromech to round off this list. Really interesting to actually see Callis here in this particular list. Now, if you're running it with Fenrau, you do have the potential to actually have it deployed first, so that we could get that early coordinate off and help mod another ship before you move with Callis. And then, but usually you run it side by side, because you do want that swarm tactics to go off. You can actually make Callis into an I6. Shooting with those 4 red dice from the Ghost, which is really powerful, especially if you have Saw Gerrera there to help them turn them your focus results into crits and do really, really well. Iron Kraken providing those target locks whenever he shoots, and giving it either to Callis for a double modded shot or Luke, and then Tristan Wren just adding extra crits into those proton torpedoes, and it's really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I like this archetype.
So did he play on stream? Did he ever dock? I just want to know.
He did play on stream, but I didn't see him dock.
Okay. I think that would be interesting to see a dock. And again, it just goes back to Luke is just very undercosted for what Luke can do. Like, so the question is, who did he swarm tactics? Was it Kraken or was it Callis? And I assume it would be Kraken, right?
Callis.
You think Callis? Okay.
Crispy played him. And I'm pretty sure it was Callis.
Was it? I mean, I guess it makes sense giving a ghost a I6. That seems pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's complaining about that.
I mean, he's a natural proton torpedo, basically, at I6.
It is a little weird not to see Biston, right? So for a double tap, that to me that's a little bit weird. I would almost choose Biston in that instance, but that's I don't know. Maybe it's just a play style thing, but
over who? Sorry,
over putting Saw or Hondo on there.
Oh,
well, normally you're reinforcing with the ghost to help it last longer. So having Saw Gerrera to help you mod to get those crits in is really good, especially when you're looking at like at salvage. Just getting those crits in, that's huge on a 4-die gun.
Yeah. Basically, you get a bunch of crits from Callus, and then when Luke decides to shoot his proton torpedoes, you have Tristan Wren there also to add an extra crit in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The next one is Dane Coopens. Who wants that one? No one wants a weird Seppi list.
Well, so okay, Grievous with Daredevil Afterburner. So you just basically the usual Grievous build, but yeah, Daredevil, which I think is interesting. Zam, can't go wrong, really. I would say the most interesting thing here is Sunfac, and from what I heard, Sunfac ripped apart Dread Champ's list and the qualifying, or like the 32 cut here earlier. I just overheard that on the stream. We didn't actually get to see it, but I wish I had gotten to see it now. But Ensnare, still good. Sunfac, still good. But super crazy to see that. I would say this archetype, just with like, I mean, yeah, I would say you just go after Sunfac, but that doesn't seem right either because the rest of it is very scary as well.
Yeah, and especially if you're able to get that that ensnare off and put them in the arc of Zam Wussel. Oh my gosh, that's a shot that you don't want to take.
And you just happen to have the card because nobody wants to shoot at you that says, "Oh, if you have 2 charges and somebody's in your arc now, I can double tap." Spicy.
Also, Zam Notorious obviously is. I mean, that on Bosk is good. It's good on Zam because it's Zam. But like, oh, here's your strain. I'll take my lock now as well. And
yep.
Oh, I have a force as well.
I know. That's just crazy to me. All right, let's move on to the next one. Howard Bensky. Cory, I'm going to give that one to you.
All right. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with this. We got a local guy that runs something pretty similar. So Callus with the Child and Magva, which is pretty cool. And Han Solo, Trick Shot, Novice Tech, K2SO, Biston, and Falcon Title. Han's always good. I'm surprised we don't see more of him. I think it's a phenomenal ship. And then Hera, which is kind of unusual to see, with swarm tactics, elusive fire control, and concussion missiles. I think it's super cool to see Hera. I prefer Ahsoka, just because I think you can do more with it. She can run by herself more. But again, super awesome. Very, very cool list. And 2 I6s is nothing to scoff at either. So very, very solid list.
Hera is really interesting because what do you think you're taking with Hera? Because like, are you just taking evade for Callus? Because Hound's gonna want focus tokens for Bistan.
I mean, you can take target locks as well, but
you could take focus though and give it to Han, right?
Yeah,
because after the first shot, then you've got Biston you can use the focus for Biston.
The other part of it as well is doing the K2SO calculate and transferring the calculate over to one of the other ships.
I bet that's what that is. That calculate.
That goes to Hera probably.
Yeah. Because Hera's going to be able to clear the stress. It is a little different because you're not doing a stress. You're not doing like a dual maneuver then. But if you play cagey enough with Hera and the Swarm tag, I mean, everybody's an I6 in this list. So like everybody, like everyone becomes an I6. And I think that's why they have the Swarm tactics, right? And they use Hera with that because Callus becomes an I6 like we kind of saw before. And then it's just kind of like, are you going to shoot Hera? Okay, whatever. She's 5 points. You're going to leave my 2 big ships alone. By the time you're done killing Hera, if you can kill Hera, but by the time you're done doing it, guess what? I've got 2 big ships at almost full health to murder you with.
Right.
And they're both going to shoot twice.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Think about oh my god. Yep. Even if you haven't killed Callus by round 3 or 4, like if you haven't done significant damage, you're not killing Callus that game, unless you play on Greg's stream, where Greg has no time limits in our league. So then at that point you can definitely kill Callus. But other than that, you sure as hell are not killing Callus at all. Like he's just gonna live forever, which is good and bad. It's good for the show. Like I like it. It's very thematic for Rebels, but very annoying. Very annoying. All right, who wants the next one? Zachary Cordon. I thought this was an interesting take on a Boba list.
I'll do this one actually because I like this one with this list. So he was flying Scum and Villainy. He has Boba Fett with Fearless, Seismic Charges, False Transponder Codes, and Marauder. He also has Dengar here in the Jumpmaster with Crack Shots, Proton Torpedoes, Jamming Beam, Greedo, False Transponder Codes, Punishing Ones, and the R3 Astromech, Genesis Red with Marksmanship, Munitions Failsafe, and Proton Torpedoes to round off that list. This is definitely more of a bigger or more offensive build than what we're usually used to seeing from like the double fire spray type archetype here. Definitely like the addition of Maul on Boba Fett. That is probably the best loadout for him. But Dengar here with Crack Shot and Proton Torpedoes with Greedo on top of that shooting at I6, you're just pushing in those crits really good. And if they happen to shoot at you in the front, you're going to shoot another Proton Torpedo at them as well, assuming that you still have that, and it's really good. And Genesis Red is a N38 that we haven't seen very much of. She definitely works better against lower initiative because her ability allows her to essentially, whenever she targets an opponent, she also gains the same amount of tokens that they have equipped. So if she goes second and targets somebody at the same initiative, that works really well, or at like a lower initiative, I3 or lower that already has tokens, she can target a lot, copy, and give her a double mounts for the Proton Torpedo. So it's really good.
I like that. I do actually like that quite a bit. So, all right, let's move into some of Cory's lists.
So I'll just say that we don't need to go in detail with all these, but the first 2 I think are the ones that I think are the most unique. The rest of them I thought we covered. Totem's list I think we hit earlier a little bit, but the Resistance list was the one I play a ton of Resistance. Seeing Chewie there, I literally built a Chewie that I'm going to bring to Monday. A little bit different build, but Poe Dameron in the T-70, fantastic ship. Chewie for just a big punch, big target that kind of soaks up some damage. We've got one of the Y-Wings, the 3-pointers. And then instead of another Y-Wing, we've got Finn in the pod, which everyone loves Finn in the pod to play against because he's so much fun to shoot at. So I think it's a really simple list. Poe has got a lot of moving parts, but everything else is just sort of, chunk and do bad things to you. So I think it's really, really cool. Like I said, it inspired me. I've got a Chewie list I just built, but I'm going to try a tactical scrambler on him and have some T-70s behind him with Fin Pod and see how that goes. So he's got Notorious, and either shoot him or everybody else gets extra dice. So I think it'll be pretty fun to try out. So, but I love to see someone being creative and bringing Chewie out there and trying to fill those points in there a different way. So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying the other one I just wanted to point out was was a FO list that is just all I5s, and you kind of look at the Rebel list that was all I6s up above this all I5 list. That is a lot of doom that is coming at you at Initiative 5, and it's neat to see an FO list that's a 4-ship list do pretty well, and showing that you while Crispy's list is amazing, there are some other places to explore and look at things in here, and this is more up my alley. This would be an FO list that I would try and fly. I'm not Hollow. I think needs a lot of work, and you have to be really on top of your game to fly Hollow, but super awesome ship that's an ace but support as well. So
yeah, and I think when with Malorus going up in price, probably Malorus is an easy one to swap out, right?
Yeah.
You have between Breach and Malorus, you have 8 points you can use for anything else.
Yeah.
So you could fit Ember in there. You could put Rush in there, right? There's a lot of options I think you have, and I feel that as they start to move away from these bombers, and this is a bomber we have without electro chafe.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
This is a bomber I wouldn't nerf per se.
I think it's cool that this person went with 2 homing missiles. I haven't seen that used anywhere. I think this is the first time I've ever seen
Except
a
for
list
Chris.
with. What was that?
Except for me.
Oh,
That's
you use
okay.
homing missiles?
Yes.
Oh,
Homing
okay.
torps, yeah.
Yes.
These are missiles. Oh, I guess
Oh,
there's missiles
whatever.
and torps.
I use the torps, but
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. So
Yeah.
yes, I have a Hound and a bunch of Z95 homing torpedo
Okay.
lists.
Cool.
I'm 50-50 with it. I win 50% of the time and I lose 50% of the time. But it's fun as fuck to fly until you run into your own Z95s and you get angry. But other than that, it's pretty fun to fly.
And the only other thing I wanted to throw out there is seeing double fire sprays in another large ship like a Falcon or Q9 is scary. That's not something I want to see a whole lot of, and I'm not excited about seeing more of that. 2 fire sprays is enough. You throw 2 fire sprays in a giant ship on top of that, and I start to get a little bit nervous. So
what can we do with 2 fire sprays and Q9 for GT that'll scare Cory? I don't know. None of it'll matter.
I built a list that had those in it. I sent it to Zach. I think this is disgusting, and
none of it will matter, though, Cory, when you run 7 resistance ships against it. So,
oh, Boba don't care about them. Chris, if you scroll down, I just had one that I added, which is Anthony Marchand's Innkeeper 16s list.
Yep.
Which is count it, 8 ships.
Wow. Yeah.
All discipline like generic ties with Wampa of 0 with the commandos as well and adaptive plating. And then fair off with Callus, electronic battlefield discipline. This looks, I hate this. But I love it. Like, I love to hate it. I saw this when we were looking, and I just was like, I cannot believe that all of that fits, and it's great, and they're just gonna fly like that. I mean, I actually, funny enough though, I was like, I bet this is like, because I've been thinking a lot about salvage, because everyone's been talking about salvage recently, and just like trying to figure out that. I was like, I guarantee you, this is like a great salvage list.
Yeah,
it is not. It lost. In salvage.
and when you count the commandos, this is really like a 10-ship list, right? Because you're shooting all those dice at something, and yeah, this has the potential to hit hard.
Don't tell D. Do not tell D, because D will start bringing this to locals. I will tell you the best part of this whole list is that both of those Reapers do not do not have force crew on them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Though I will tell you, I think pair off with force crew would be better, but that's just my opinion.
Minus the loadouts on the Reapers, I flew against this at a tournament on the east side of Michigan with my 5-ship resistance list, and I tied them. But this was a nightmare to fly against. It's just so much coming at you. It was bonkers.
What does Callus do?
A passive focus into a hit on a ship that you designate, and when that ship dies, you get to reassign it to another ship. So it constantly gives you a passive focus to hit.
Gross.
Like a free force token. All right. Well, all right. That's all tonight, folks. I will say it was a fun show. Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Cory, for joining us tonight. You know what I should do? I really should bring that image in. I did not do this before the show. Give me a second. JJ, ramble about something for a second.
So while we're getting that thing, I do wanted to just mention the 2 Sigma pilots that were revealed by AMG this week. Sigma 5, which reads after you perform an attack that hits, you may spend a charge to perform an evade action. It comes with Sensor Jammer, which is an upgrade that we haven't seen since 1.0. And it reads, while defending, if there is a friendly lock on the attacker, you may change one of the attacker's hit results to a focus result, which makes this ship a lot more defensible for its ability. Sigma 6 ability reads, after you fully execute a speed 3 to 5 maneuver, you may spend a charge to perform a slam action, which is really great. And that gives it a lot more maneuverability. Those are two of the interceptor pilots that we haven't seen revealed even when they did the stream way back when. So I'm really interested to see how these ships, these interceptors, will play in the meta.
Yeah, and I think it says you're back, AJ. Maybe next week we'll talk about we'll talk a little bit more about Battle of Yavin next week. I think my guess is we'll get one more article next week. It is a high probability, and we kind of go through that again and spend a few minutes to go through that. I'll be honest, I'm actually kind of excited about it. More than I was before. I was not excited before because I was very, I'm very tournament focused, very, how do we have a competition? But now I feel that that if AMG is not going to give out worlds invites every time, to more than the top 4 people, if they don't have a last chance qualifier, I need something to play. So, because I'm not planning on going to Nova next week, unfortunately, folks, which we will cover Nova next weekend, but I can't afford to go to Nova, and I can't afford to go to Shanghai, and I can't afford to go to the Russian one that's coming up. I just can't afford to do any of these ones. So Gen Con was my one last chance effort, and unfortunately it's gone. So anyway, next week we will cover, they had some AMG transmission stuff. I don't want to get into it tonight just because it was a lot of off the cuff type conversation, and I'm not quite ready to digest that. So next week we will be diving into what AMG said on their stream. Talking a little bit about if they want to clarify what they said about the last chance qualifier, which they did mention, but didn't really do a lot with it. So hopefully we get a little bit more clarification on that. We will 100% be covering Nova, and then re-looking at statistics again, because everybody loves statistics. I love statistics. And we will be streaming after Nick's stream. So if you like 312 Squadron, you'll probably see, as long as I'm home from there, you'll see me play. I'm going to encourage JJ to play. Maybe JJ and I will try to get a game on next stream before our cast. So Nick is moving his Friday or Wednesday night streams to Sunday night. And there is a little bit of crossover between our streams, but hopefully his stream ends on time so he can just raid us. Hint, Nick. Anyway, one more thing I wanted to mention. If you're in the Michigan area, we have a gentleman on the show named Cory who built this for me. Very grateful. You can't see his face right now, so I'm just going to hide his face. We have a Michigan X-Wing Championship with a custom Mandalorian prize kit. Yes, folks, there is only one other kit in existence that has these exact same prize tokens in the United States that I know of. That's it. only one other one. So we have been blessed with being able to get this. Currently, right now, we are actually at 12 participants, and we have about a month to go. We just started promoting this week. So between Wednesday and Saturday, we gained 11 participants. If you come, so I'm going to tell you right now, it's a $40 event. So yes, it's high. There's no convention fee. It is $1 million. It's definitely a lot higher than other conventions. And no, you are not going to get to go to Worlds from this. Possibly, maybe, but probably not. But what I will tell you is that because we've already hit 12 signups, there will be $200 in prize support plus this kit on top of that. So you're going to get stuff out of this kit. And then on top of that, we're going to have a $200 prize support wall. And all right, I'm going to make this smaller and bring Cory back in because this is kind of this was his idea to have this. He's going to have an alt art wall that he's going to provide to us from various podcast streams. So if you're a podcaster and you want to provide cards to give away to the awesome, amazing people in Michigan, send them to me or contact me on Discord. I will get you my address or Cory's address. We are going to create a prize wall similar to what GSP did, just a little bit smaller with just all art cards because we don't have quite the same capital that Dion has. But Cory came up with an idea to say, hey, why don't we give a prize wall? We give out random tickets to anybody that wants to play. And if you stay all 5 games minimum, you will 100% get enough tickets to be able to buy a couple of our alt art cards. And on top of that, because of the fact that every time that we get more people signed up, we're adding money to the pot to give away. So we're at 12 people right now. I guarantee you, between the prize support from the kit and the prize wall, you will get 50% of your ticket back without having to even qualify for Top Cut. 50% of your ticket back. You're going to get a minimum of $20 in prize support. And you can't even see my face because it's amazing. Amazingly crazy looking right now. But you will get that much in prize support. If we fill the event at 32 people, 30 people, our podcast is sponsoring 2 painted ships for the event that we have commissioned from Pim, Andrew Pim. I don't remember what the name of his
Pim Miniatures. Yeah.
Pim Miniatures, thank you. Pim Miniatures is getting us a custom painted Ahsoka A-Wing, Nabi A-Wing, not one you can fly, but one that everybody else but you can fly, that is going to look like her Laku, which I don't know if that's how you say that, but it's going to basically look like her headdress. And then we're going to also have a Vader Defender just for Cory, because the goal is to see how does Cory win this event so that he owns a Vader Defender he effing has to fly. Because if you win this, Cory, you must fly that. You do not get a choice. You have to fly that.
Kill 3 hard right off the board every time.
No, you have to fly Thunder Vader. We have commissioned 2 Pim Miniatures ships that we've commissioned that at this current time I have paid out of pocket for that are in addition to this. So if you want to come to the Michigan GT and you want to be a part of an amazing group of people that want to hang out, play X-Wing, and do whatever we're going to do before and after the show, you're welcome to come hang out with us. We will have a good time.
The balls the 3-hearted Vader off of the board and still try and play the game is pretty incredible, Cory.
Yeah, that's my goal.
If you win, all right, Cory's flying. I heard Cory's flying Empire. And if you fly Vader Defender off the board every turn, and win the event. So this is my promise to you, Cory. If you play Empire.
You don't even need to continue. I'm not touching that trash anyway. So.
I'm telling you, if you fly Vader Defender off the board and win with Empire, I will buy you whatever X-Wing piece you want. Whatever FFG, AMG made, whatever you want, out of my pocket. This is my gamble for you.
It's not much of a gamble when you know I'm not going to fly that. So
but you could. You can do it to prove me wrong. You could do this to prove me wrong.
No.
Right, how about this? I'll up the ante. I'll do the same thing, but if you don't fly Vader Defender off the board and you win the tournament with Vader Defender, we will create a campaign to get Vader Defender banned from the game. We will figure out how to screw AMG over so bad that they will ban it and they can name it Cory Initiative. They can say this is the Cory Initiative to get this shit banned.
The thing is no shower. I couldn't be in a shower long enough to wipe the filth off of me for Flying Vader for that long.
All right.
Oh man, that was great.
All right. Well, Cory, I've given you a challenge. We will see. We'll see what happens. Anyway. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us on GSP. Hopefully, we are not going to be having our Construct the Death Star event this week. Unfortunately, with Pim and that, but maybe we'll get some. Maybe if JJ's settled, we'll get some stuff together, and we'll fly some stuff here on Wednesday or Friday this week. I am going to be in Chicago on Saturday, and so we will be constrained for Sunday for the show. But we will be back Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. 0000 UTC time, if you prefer to live in that time. Thank you very much. Have a good night, and we will see you on the flippity flip. Have a good night, everyone.
See ya.
Yeah.
Bye.